Hey, hello everybody. My name is Kara. I am with Hustle Fun. I'm very, very, very happy to see you all here today. I'm going to change that so hopefully you can see my face. Welcome to the first ever Second Opinion Live podcast. This is our first time doing this event, and I'm so excited to welcome Mark and Alex from Deck Doctors to host this inaugural virtual hang session. We're going to nerd out on pitch decks and hopefully leave everybody with some awesome actionable tips on how to maximize the impact of your deck. You can head into 2025 raising bajillions of dollars and building all kinds of crazy unicorns. I'm not going to be speaking a whole lot in this webinar. I'm going to mostly be turning it over to the doctors, but just want to say thank you so much for being here. Before I turn it over to Mark and Alex, please throw a link to your doc in the chat. Couple points. Number one, we need to be able to have a link to the doc. I don't want to download anything. It's going to ruin our system. So live link is preferable, strongly preferable. Please make sure we can view the deck. We don't need to do anything funny to get there. We don't need to download anything or give you our social security number or something like that. We just want to be able to click a link and see your deck. Drop them in the chat and we'll get started. In the meantime, Mark, Alex, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having us. We're pumped to
Okay.
dive into some decks. I'm seeing a few roll through the chat.
Quite a few, quite a few. So you guys want to just give a quick introduction, who you are and why we're doing this, and then we'll dive into the first one.
Yeah. Down to do it, Mark?
You want me to do it? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're Deck Doctors. Alex and I go way back as friends. We were friends in high school. We had a bunch of failed entrepreneurial experiments together, but stayed close. And a couple years ago, Alex came to me with the idea for this business. So we started Deck Doctors about 2 years ago today. We could not have done it without Hustle Fund support. They were one of our early friends and supporters and gave us a lot of work right off the bat. At this point in time, we've worked on over 250 pitch decks. That's almost all between pre-seed and Series B. Most are seed and Series A, but we do a little bit of everything. So yeah, we kind of faked it until we made it. There's a lot of just kind of first principles thinking and us figuring out, different ways in for pitch deck stories. But over the past couple of years, we've built a team of 12. We have a lot of pattern recognition. We've been a part of a lot of successful fundraisers and have worked with a lot of pretty incredible startups. So we have ideas to share, frameworks, tips and tricks, and we want to just, apply that to all of your pitch decks today. Anything I missed, Alex or Kara? I see you smiling deviously.
Nah, I think you got it. We've worked on 200 to 300 decks and have seen lots and lots of decks, so we've picked up a lot along the way. And yeah, hopefully we can take a look at what you guys have and give you some actionable tips to make it that much better. So let's just dive right in.
Cool.
All
So
right.
how it's going to work. We see your links in the chat. We're going to pull them up and share them on screen. Mark and Alex are going to take turns diving in, but they are going to have a discussion a little bit about what's working and what should be changed. And then we're going to move on. We're going to spend roughly 3 minutes per deck and try to get through as many as possible. We are recording it. We will send it out. And if you didn't get reviewed in this session, we're hoping to do another one of these. We'd love your feedback so we can continue to improve this format. With that said, I'm going to share my screen and send thoughts and prayers because this always makes me super anxious. Okay, can you see?
Yes, we can.
Here, Kara, let me pull it up. I think I have it up. I can jump through it.
I'll stop sharing.
And Alex, I just needed to request access again to Riverside. So if you could do that. All right, cool. So Threvo, I'm going to basically just run through kind of slide by slide, and then I'll share thoughts at the end. So we're all on the same page about what we're looking at. All right, empowering the next generation of global creator entrepreneurs. We help creators in developing countries become entrepreneurs with crypto monetization, customization, and tokenization tools. Great. A lot of people use social platforms. We help creators become entrepreneurs in 3 ways. We bridge Web 2 and Web 3. Okay. A lot of traction at MVP, a lot of community members specifically. Neat ecosystem going on here. For blockchain tools, pretty clean interface. Okay. Boom, 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 boom. Token. All right. So, okay. So right off the bat, I think the main thing that I would just add to this is headlines. I was kind of, as I was scrolling through, I was thinking and trying to piece together the narrative. And kind of where I'm at is it feels like a blockchain toolkit, especially for creators in, foreign countries that maybe don't have access to as many of these platforms. But the deck didn't say that. So that's me kind of conjecturing as I'm going through. I do like that opportunity though. It sounds like a good market, but for it to make sense, I'd want to know why, one, why do creators need these types of tools to monetize? My guess is there's probably some good reasons, but more importantly, I'm just curious, why is this, it seems like a big part of this is that these are, let me go back, global creator entrepreneurs. So I'd be very interested in just what is the landscape like globally. And I think the story gets a lot more interesting if, let's say, there's a lack of these tools in certain markets, and there's reasons for that being the case. So that's the type of stuff I would want addressed in the headlines pretty early. Why is there a burning need for these tools? And specifically, why does that need exist around the world? I think we maybe have some of it here, but it doesn't really tie to the global piece. So that's kind of where I net out, wanting to learn more about the global piece of it all. Alex, want to jump in as you are much closer overall to blockchain than I?
Yeah, I mean, I think you said it well. I think it's indicative of how an investor may kind of quickly scan through a deck to know that, this is what Mark picked up on a quick run through. How can we optimize for a better pickup of, the opportunity and the product that we're building out in that quick run through so that, he's a little bit more inclined to dive deeper into some of the text and some of the supporting evidence. So that's just like a more format specific recommendation is optimize for somebody who's skimming the deck, use headlines so that somebody can get that story quickly. And then I think, as Mark noted, traction seems really exciting. Um, I'm not, I have no familiarity with your business until I'm looking at this pitch deck. Maybe this is something we want to lead with as more of
Yeah.
a success-driven story versus, kind of this broader mission-driven story, which is what it feels like from the jump. And if you do so, maybe capture a little bit of credibility to give people a little bit more of a reason to read the rest of the deck. So, bringing some of this stuff into the beginning might be a little bit of a good tactic, but looks
Yeah.
really cool, guys.
Yeah, great job. I really like that. I think the 60K plus community members was the most exciting thing in it. Just took me kind of a while to figure it out, and I don't, we didn't dive in too much. All right, Alex, your turn.
I
All
forgot to
right,
ring the bell. This is our timer. So just wanted you to know we hit 3 minutes. We're moving on to the next deck.
let's do it. All right. Selftack.com. So 50% of people do not follow up, be the top 10%. Interesting, compelling title slide. Smart selfies for networking and personal CRM. Sounds crazy. It is. There are 34 billion selfies taken a year and 52 million professionals that attend an event in a year. I feel like that number is even lower than it probably is. 1% of 345 million selfies at networking events. I'm getting a little confused here. I do not use business cards. No more nameless selfies, no more lost, crumbled business cards. Easy steps during networking. So you're taking a selfie as you're networking together, and that has some sort of facial recognition that drafts an email for you and see where you met on the map. So it kind of keeps an inventory of your network based on your selfies, online, offline, virtual events. It works with existing workflows, one tap, easy steps post networking, B2C, B2B, B2C business model. Okay, so it's like a SaaS model. Put logos behind. And then there's a large professional networking market. They have a roadmap, a team of experts, 2 patents. Interesting to know at the very end here. And they're raising 500K in capital, be the 10%. All right. Few high level thoughts about this deck. Number one, I love the be the 10% as a little tagline that you guys can use as just a brandable moment. This is a consumer facing application. And so you want to show investors that you have a good taste when it comes to branding. And so I think in this case, and not in all cases, but in this case, it makes sense to have a really nicely designed deck and some strong kind of marketing speak or, marketing words that, people can remember you by. So I think that's a really memorable start. I think this very windy introduction is is interesting, but I personally think it's doing you a little bit of a disservice because it's so long and it gets a little bit confusing as I get to kind of 6, 7, 8, 9. And it's in theory a very simple concept and it's a cool idea, basically. The idea that instead of the typical kind of boring networking, needing to give a business card or kind of send an email or get some contact information, you can just take a selfie and there's technology in the back end that creates this visual network for yourself. If you just led with that, people would get it right away. It's not a confusing proposition. It's just a unique idea. And then the burden becomes how do you build a business around this? And so after you kind of like very quickly in instead of 10 slides, 1 slide, get somebody across the line of, okay, this is a unique proposition, then you need to substantiate it with a really kind of sound business strategy, which I do feel like is peppered in with the fact that there are a lot of selfies being taken at networking events. We have like a smart kind of model for this, and then where I'm kind of missing is how to I would imagine that there is like a kind of inherent flywheel or product-led discoverability based on the fact that you could be with somebody and they'd take a selfie with you. You're like, what's that? Can I join this platform? And so I feel like you could probably more explicitly say that there is a flywheel effect that we're looking to create because of the fact that it takes two to take a selfie here. So those are my thoughts and a few suggestions. I think this could be a much shorter deck, but it's a really cool proposition. I think there's a lot of the pieces are here. It's just a matter of kind of looking to optimize for an audience that may not care to read this 10 slide up front and really just wants to get to the point and see that there's a cool business opportunity here and rather than kind of having to figure that out themselves. Mark, any thoughts?
My only note is that slide 22 had a very exciting piece of information. When you are an early stage business, people are often getting one, the time of the founders, and two, the technology. They're also buying into the vision of the company and like where it can go. But to me, this feels like a potential hook or just something I'd want to know very early, because this gives you a right to win with this, very uh, fluid way of sharing contacts and this new way maybe of doing networking. So yeah, I'd want to know more about the patents. I thought this came in too late.
Totally. I think you're gonna start seeing this theme pop up as we go through these. We love using uh, any bit of credibility building information higher up in the deck to grab people's attention and give them a reason to continue reading. And so this would be a perfect. We built this technology. It's a cool idea. We have the patents. There's a great business here. Good little intro arc. All right, let's
Great.
move to the next.
All right.
Okay, who are we looking at next, Mark?
We got Mesocare. Thank you for sharing, Mesocare. So I'm going to preface by saying this is a very strong pitch. So I think this is a good one for people to pay attention to. The design scratches my usual design itches. It's short. It's 11 slides, which means instead of me having to be reductive with commentary, I can be, giving ideas for expanding the deck because they actually have some room. So yeah, overall, I think this hits a lot of the right notes. But yeah, so MesoCare, end-to-end medical travel concierge, creating affordable healthcare options for North Americans. I don't love opening with an executive summary, but some investors do enjoy it. So kind of no comment here. It's a bit of a preference thing. Um, Americans are getting priced out of quality healthcare. This is true. Driving more and more US patients abroad. Also true. Shifra can comment about this. She enjoys doing this. Sorry to put you on blast, Shifra. She's here. Okay. Safe and hassle-free medical treatments in Mexico. We seamlessly curate every step of the care journey. That sounds really nice. Our quality first model and singular focus on Mexico make us the only trusted option for the 2 million plus American patients seeking treatment abroad. This is interesting. It's good to see that you are better than competitors. 2 million plus American patients seems kind of small. And if anything, this sets up in my mind what the missing portion of the deck is. But then, yeah, great team slide. I love seeing 20 years of friendship. I think people are too scared to say stuff like that in their team slides. And it's just great to see that, these people know each other. They've been working together. This stands out to me and it seems like a memorable team. And they have this company roadmap, which takes a little bit too much work for me to get through, but it looks like, they kind of have a good plan and they're raising money to do it. So I think the only thing I'd push, and I really do like almost everything about this pitch, is all I really know about the market for this specifically. And by this, I mean people who want to travel outside the United States to get cheaper healthcare, is that maybe there's 2 million people who are interested in it. It would be great if that number is growing over time and we can show like a CAGR that says it's going to be at 50 million Americans soon. And then there's just like a tailwind and that market's expanding. That would be a good slide. But additionally, I would just want to know, like, what do these people spend a year? How does one find them? Is this like a silent thing that's happening, or are there communities that are discussing this? Are there Reddit communities where they share favorite places to go get healthcare? So I don't really know much about this world. It sounds very interesting, especially as someone who knows, I mean, I understand this problem that Americans are getting priced out of quality healthcare. But yeah, I'd really just want to add weight in this back section around how you're going to grow, why there's a big market here, and kind of how you'd access it. So that might amount to 2 or 3 more slides, kind of blowing out this number. How are you reaching these patients? Who are these people? How much money can you make from them? That type of stuff. Alex, any thoughts? I think this overall, though, is concise and well designed, and I don't have much else to say.
No, I think that was well said. I'm down to jump to the next.
Great. We're just at time. That was exactly 3 minutes, you guys. Well
I'm
done.
going to get faster and
Cool.
faster. It's going to become 1 minute, 30 seconds.
Right, Alex.
I guess
Who
that's the
are
goal.
we
All
looking
right, so I'm not able to get into the SharePoint of Mimmer. So I'm going to jump to Regimen, but if Mimmer can update the permissions, we can jump back in a little. So let me present. This is a unique file structure. I think this is Tome. All right, Regimen, maximize your potential. Busy leaders lack the tools to mentor everyone who needs it. Mentorship platforms like Intro, BetterUp, and Amigo don't enable leaders to deliver instant guidance with adaptive action plans. There's lots of people on LinkedIn that lack personalized mentorship, and there's lots of leaders that lack AI tools to mentor people effectively. Regiment enables leaders to mentor anyone 10x better in less time than an AI-powered toolkit. Looks like there's a video. I'm not going to go there, but somebody might. So what's not working? There's expert content. It's not scalable or cost efficient. These insights don't come with action plans, and there's no accountability or peer support system when tackling challenges and goals. And Regiment looks like it consolidates leadership insights and creates mentorship sessions for people to take, and it customizes action plans and gamifies growth. This is a really cool concept. So there's a $800 billion total addressable market with lots of companies on LinkedIn. There's some personas we get into. So it's a little bit of a two-sided thing. And then there's a team, looks like an awesome team. And then I like this kind of final slide on or towards the end slide on advantages. They have relationships. They've created more winning content, and there's some more differentiation here and some traction. They've got pilots. They're growing demand, and then there's a competitive landscape comparing and contrasting. And then there's a little bit of a roadmap and a go-to-market strategy to onboard mentors. Okay. All right. So really quickly, I think that there's a really cool concept here. I think that the deck feels like a little bit like it lacks polish and thus substance. Like I definitely don't mind using Tome and having this kind of interactive kind of interface, but I feel like as we highlight the problem and some of these slides do feel a little bit like they're unsubstantiated. And then there's these other slides where I kind of have to scroll up and down to kind of get the point. It's a little less skimmable than I would, I guess, want. And I do feel like the kind of persona targeting is a little too much for an initial pitch deck. So those are just kind of like some more formatting tips. I think I want to kind of get to the crux of your differentiation a little bit earlier. You have a lot of interesting slides back here on your advantages and these relationships and what you guys have been able to do from a team perspective. Again, that's a credibility building moment that could come a little bit earlier. So I'm not kind of sat with this opportunity that feels like it's coming out of the blue, but I understand that this is coming from really good experience in various kind of domains of the market. Um, and then I think otherwise it could just be streamlined a little bit more so that we lead with a little bit more of that credibility. We highlight this big opportunity that I think is pretty understandable by most people. Most people understand that there's these experts in the world. They're putting a lot of stuff out there. The users, consume that content, but they're not able to engage with it in a deeper way and apply that to their lives. And if we can kind of lead with credibility, get to that kind of nugget, and then show how this goes to market in half the amount of time, I think, you'd be a little bit better served with, a first glance from an investor. So that's my quick take.
Can I actually pop in on this one too, really quick?
Yeah.
We see a number of organizations pitch in this space, not with this solution. And I would say you talked a little bit about differentiation, and I'd like to see more of that as well. But another thing that I'd like to see is, why is this a massive problem? Is it? I'm not actually convinced that it is. And my guess is that the founders behind this know that it is, but I don't know how they know. What customer discovery have they done? What unique insights do they have that led them to to acknowledge, like, okay, this is a massive problem that needs to be solved, huge opportunity, could lead to that, 100x return that investors are looking for. And then why is this solution the solution? And if already they've got pilots going with some pretty impressive individuals, then my guess is they could have some kind of testimonial from those people that would demonstrate that they are onto something that's really unique and special, that is actually VC backable. One thing I'll say is that a lot of these businesses are great business ideas, but they may not be VC backable because so many VCs are looking for that 100x return. So if you're looking for VC capital, tell us how you're going to help those VCs see that return.
Extremely well said. I think this feels like there's a gap, but it's like a hanging gap. And we need to kind of prove that there's monetizable demand and all the things that you just said, Kara, about either there being some proof of concepts in the works to show that there's clear demand, alternatives that people have used in a more manual way that they've, kind of tried really hard to put this together themselves, or they're paying for some very expensive service. All of those things can show that there is a monetizable demand gap versus just a kind of a general theoretical gap. So yeah, super, super well said across the board.
Okay.
Okay. Um, Kara, so I'm having trouble messaging the everyone chat, but if you
Yeah,
could just send people a note on what's upcoming. I sent you a list of the bullets,
I
and
thought.
then I think we have enough for now. So just wanted to call that out. but let
Guys, keep an
me
eye on
jump.
the chat. And Mark, why don't you go ahead and share the next deck?
Sweet. Okay, so let's talk about Life Spark Labs, unlocking purpose-filled futures through the power of stories. So, about us, we help people find their purpose. Are you ready to play? We use immersive story-based learning experiences to build resilience, promote well-being, and guide youth toward meaningful careers. Great. The youth mental health crisis is blocking millions from successful adulthood. Current solutions don't cut through the noise. Great point here, by the way. I think I love this idea that to engage youth mental health must be as appealing as the other things competing for their free time. I think that's a great idea. Experienced team of innovators in behavioral science, workforce development, gaming, and storytelling. Our solutions to engage the TikTok generation through immersive and personalized stories. We have a story-based skill builder and LifeSpark action plan tied to our Purposephere AI. We will meet youth where they are on their mobile phones with media-based learning. We'll talk more about this slide in a minute. And then, we'll make money through looks like membership. And that allows us to kind of have this flywheel of growth. And we're in this big market for wellness, which I think we all agree about. So this is an interesting deck. I actually think maybe due to the design feeling like slightly juvenile, and something about it at first made me, and I think the use of kind of these stock images, like for some reason at first I'm like, oh, this maybe isn't a super VC backable idea. The more I think about it, the more I think that it actually is, but I don't think it can be ordered the way it's currently ordered. So what happens here is we set up for this massive problem that I think we all agree with, but then I'm kind of left wondering if this is the right solution. So this slide is what we get as the answer to this big idea, which is that there's a youth mental health crisis. So here I'm kind of like blown away. Okay, this is a major problem. And then what I'm told is, all right, so something called Purposephere AI is the answer. And I'm just not really left believing that this is the only answer or the right answer. So you're left with kind of two routes. Route number one is you can narrow your problem down and actually make this a little tighter. And maybe it's something about something kind of more based on this, which is there's an issue with youth mental health, solutions not being engaging enough. We are building, and then skip to this slide, we're building a mobile media-based mental health solution. That already feels more right-sized. So instead of we're saying, okay, we're solving youth mental well-being with Purposephere, I'd almost rather it be we're making mental health more enjoyable for youth with mobile media-based learning. But the other thing I think you could do is just lead with the team. Where's the team? I love the team slide. You could lead with the team slide and then lead with this. So it's like, hey, we're a bunch of experts in behavioral science, and we're building this really unique AI-based interactive learning world that powers mental health and improves mental health. And then you can almost, like, I think someone would be hooked by that because you guys look awesome. And I think this looks exciting to me. I would love the idea of doing this and, dealing with these monsters and having to, you know, basically play out the situations in different ways. I think I would actually really enjoy this. And then you can kind of get into, well, this is actually part of a huge market. So I think almost what's happening is because we try so hard to establish there's something big here, it falls a little flat. But maybe we just start with where we're at. Hey, great team. We have a really cool product. Let's make these screen grabs bigger. Let's make this slide maybe into multiple slides so it's less crammed in. And then we can almost say, well, guess what? If we can build this really unique kind of learning and mental well-being experience, guess what? It's actually in pretty massive markets and it could have a massive impact in business case. So some reordering, I think, would be my recommendation. But I'll pause for any thoughts. And yeah, I love what you're doing. Super needed. I think this is an important thing you're building.
Really
Cool.
good.
All right. And I guess that's my final thought is we have frameworks, we have ways we generally like to see pitch decks ordered, but at the end of the day, we throw it out all the time. And I think this is an example where I don't know if the Sequoia framework or the framework we wrote about in our ebook or any framework out there would be best for this type of solution. I think I'd order it in a way that just is kind of a compelling story and gets momentum early. I think the story should have more momentum to get me excited from the get-go.
Really good point, Mark. And while Alex pulls up the next deck, I'll share a link to that ebook that Mark just referenced, which is free and awesome and incredibly detailed.
And yes, Omar, all happening from the Zoom chat, by the way. All right, fair bet.
Fair bet. All right. Meet the first find and compare veterinary services app. The problem: Google results for budget-friendly vet clinics tend to prioritize SEO over genuine pricing information. It sounds like vet bills are very expensive. I think people can get behind that. And then we have a solution that enables customers to check prices faster, find affordable veterinary care, save time. And it looks like a pro solution that's a little bit more geared towards the veterinary clinics to find new patients and engage with their patients in a telemedicine type way, it sounds. So it's fast and easy booking, but it looks like it enables some care through the digital device. There's a large market size here, of course. Everyone knows that pet ownership is a huge, hot space, and a lot of people own pets. It looks like there is a direct competitor, but no one in the US or Canada offering price comparison platform in the veterinary services space. Subscription based revenue. So people, I guess B2C people can subscribe for a membership. And then there's an affiliate program, some advertising, go to market, some tactics. They've validated it with the market here. Sounds like they're the first mover in this space. They've got a lot of good tech, some SEO market leadership, a good team. Why now? Rising veterinary costs, growing pet ownership, economic pressures on pet owners, and lack of price transparency. I feel like so this is the closing slide, and I feel like this is the meat that I'm kind of craving as I'm going through this. So right off the bat, I think this is a great approach. This is perfectly concise. It, kind of makes good use of the slide structure. We have like a clear problem. We substantiate that problem. We have, I guess, a two-pronged solution, and then we have some visuals of the product. My mind goes immediately to ZocDoc, like the ZocDoc comparison for veterinary care. And I imagine if I had more time, that would be my first thing to look up is this simply just price discovery, or is this care discovery at large? And then can this have great outcomes for the veterinary care providers that are obviously looking for more patients, and for the families that are looking for better, faster, cheaper access to care. And so if there is a distinction here between what a ZocDoc for pets would be, then I feel like that should be addressed a little bit more quickly. And if that distinction is that it's simply price discovery versus a more general discovery platform, then I think you should make the case that whatever that platform is that is doing general discovery can be disrupted by putting the prices on because of all of the reasons that we have here in the why now. And if there isn't something that is doing general discovery at all, then I feel like we need to make an even stronger stance around the fact that we know that it's tough to find a cheap and affordable and good vet. ZocDoc and other platforms in the non-veterinary space have created great businesses connecting patients with great doctors, albeit I'm not sure if there's price discovery there, but we just want to bring that to a massive and growing space in veterinary care. And I feel like kind of drawing on those immediate comparisons, I think in one of either way would be really effective because and maybe it's just me, but I do believe that a lot of people will kind of scan through this and say, "Wow, ZocDoc for pets, like, is this a thing? And if it's not a thing, or if it is a thing, then how is it different than that?" And you can highlight price discovery being really critical to solving the problem at large. And if it isn't a thing, then we need to make a really strong stance that this has been proven in other ways. we're going to prove it in the veterinary space. So those are my like high level suggestions here. But I think that you have a lot of the ingredients here to just kind of string this together to be even more compelling, but sounds like an awesome opportunity. Any thoughts from the team?
Well done.
All right,
All right.
moving on.
All right. Pollen, I see you in the comments. We got you. I'm really pumped to talk about this one. I think this is a really incredible idea with some very quick wins that could be made in the pitch. So I'll just skim through it really quick, and then I just want to give you guys advice for a few. All right, so Pollen, we're a marketplace to empower local small businesses to collaborate with nearby creators. Great. Um, Local businesses are missing out on big opportunities to connect. We want to make it painless for local businesses to collaborate with nearby creators. Great. We can, let businesses create campaigns, creators see the opportunities nearby, and then there's a collaboration that happens on our platform. We have a tech advantage. We're starting out in Phoenix, or we started out in Phoenix already, and made some money. Great. We have a pretty simple business model on both sides. Big market, competitive landscape. Founders look awesome. Advisors look strong, and they're raising a pre-seed, which makes sense. They have some traction. They have something out there. Good time to raise a pre-seed. Okay, so bunch of thoughts. Right off the bat, I think I just need a little bit more of a hook to get me in at the beginning. There are a lot. I mean, this is a creator economy platform. There are a lot of tools out there to find influencers. So I need some sort of hook that's going to get me excited about why local businesses can't use these. Where my head generally goes is I think the creator economy tools that are out there are really built for like bigger D2C brands that can collaborate with a business or collaborate with a creator remotely. And then they post like an Instagram promotional or something. And what I like about this is it seems like very much about local markets. Like, maybe you find the star college football player or some, really famous person that happens to live in the town, and they can come in and help promote the business. So I really do like this idea, but I'd want more information on why existing influence platforms are not working for local businesses, as well as like what's going on in this world. What does it mean to be local business first? How does that actually impact your building? What I really want to get into though is just design. I think anything in the creator economy has a very high bar for pitch deck design and product design, just because of what you're going up against and what VCs will be expecting. I think this template and just this branding, like we have a background that's a little bit blurry. There's like poor text hierarchy. Like the headline is actually smaller than the tech advantage, which is basically the same size as the bullets. So it's very tough to digest. And I do think that this is a case where having this be a very tightly designed pitch deck is going to be needed to prove to someone that you're going to have a very well-designed product and just have design at the center of what you do, which I think when you're playing in the creator economy is just a must-have to be venture-backed at this point. So I really just do think this would do well from a makeover, but particularly just getting out of bullet points and getting into kind of infographics and diagrams. Finally, just as far as like missing content pieces, I think the product UX looks okay, but I'd want to learn a little bit more about, how it's being built and the features. It does look a little bit complicated to use. That's not the end of the world though for pre-seed. I think the main thing, just as far as like go to market and some of the business growth portions of the pitch is anything like this needs to address the cold start problem. So how are you going to go from the fact that right now no businesses know about you and no creators know about you to having them both know about you across local geographies? I see Kara smiling because this is probably something that her and her friends at Hustle Fund are telling founders to do all the time, but you just do need some tactics. So this slide would be perfect. I'd love to hear, how did you get 120 businesses on there? Who are these 115 creators? How can you guys 10 to 100x that number in Phoenix and then replicate that in any city in the US? If you can tell me those things, then suddenly I'm like, okay, this could have a niche within influencer, the influencer networking tools or like the creator kind of like brand creative spend tools, which are totally out there and it's a huge market. So I think until I believe that you have ways to solve the cold start problem, I don't know if I'd see a world where this becomes a thing. But if you, as soon as you solve that, and I'm convinced about that, then I'm like, okay, I think this is actually a really nice niche within a very lucrative and pretty quick growing market. So love the idea. I'll circle back to that. Right off the bat, I was just like, oh, this is cool because I can think about a lot of towns where it'd be great to have something like this. And connect these kind of offline businesses with maybe offline or online creators who are local. Anything else from the team? Thanks for sharing, guys.
Really well said, Alex. So just plus one everything.
Sweet.
Likewise.
Okay.
All right. Next up, we have Grower.
Grower.
You guys see
Is this
this?
Mimmer?
Yes, it is.
Great. Mimmer.
I
Okay.
hope. I hope.
Yeah,
Is that
yeah, it's
right?
Mimmer. It's Mimmer.
Thanks.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
want
that
to
he says that.
we
Yes,
want
I
to get
went
Mimmer.
back. All right, we got you guys.
Let's go.
So they have a mission to allow anyone to hire vetted talent faster and empower African talent with employable opportunities. The job and talent market in Africa is a huge flop. This is due to poor availability of employable talent in Africa. 70% of sub-Saharan African graduates are unemployable, and of the remaining 10%, they're overwhelmed. So we've created a seamless work platform that connects vetted and verified African talent to jobs with built-in tools to manage projects effectively. Um, and the product allows recruiters to hire highly qualified tech talent in minutes, not months. And there is unbelievable UX. This looks really cool. And I like how it's clearly segmented between the client view and the talent view. Um, and then they also train talent. There's a large market opportunity, and I think that's pretty intuitive. Um, this is why we are winning versus other platforms out there. I won't go through the details, but I think this is very important to the story. Um, and with more time, I would dive a little deeper there. And then they have a business model, it looks really strong. So you have some existing traction, some revenue. This looks really good. And then they're celebrating their wins. They've got some partnerships, and then they have an Ask slide and an awesome team slide. All right, cool. Well, first off, I think that this deck looks really professional, and the brand looks like it kind of has been nailed. It, kind of is exciting, but also feels professional and looking to find jobs, companies looking to find exciting talent. So great job there. I think I want to focus mostly on the upfront here, where we basically see that the job talent network in Africa is a huge flop. So there's this big problem in the kind of job network in general, and that's due to unemployable talent. And then I see that we have a platform uh, to connect hirers with employable talent. So what I as I read through the solution, it looks like there's I'm not exactly sure how we are solving for the finding of employable talent specifically, or if we are solving for helping some of these graduates become a little bit more employable and find those opportunities. So I think that there's a little bit of a jump from this big problem to this solution that looks like it's meant to also help talent, kind of train and gain skills to become better and more employable so they can find opportunities. And then I think when we have these really kind of broad sweeping problem statements around, the kind of job and talent network in Africa is a huge flop. It's just like it's a mess. I'm craving to understand, it's one of those where it's such a big problem and you substantiate the problem that, somebody's tried to solve this problem before. And then I want to get into, okay, if it's such a big problem that's so obvious, who's tried to solve it? Why have they not been able to solve it effectively? And why is our approach different and the right way to solve it? That's the more kind of true to the story kind of problem setup that I'd be craving here. And I think you do touch on it obviously here when you talk about the competitors, but rather than just kind of listing the competitors and show how we're unlike these platforms, many of which I'm not familiar with, I'd like to understand where do these competitors fall into some sort of category? Maybe it's There have been people that have tried, but they're really too locally focused to have a real impact in Africa. Maybe there's platforms out there that are looking for full-time roles, and we zig where they zag, and we, focus on only the gig economy. And we look to kind of build a little bit of a market map of the the categories of competitors who've tried to solve this very big and obvious problem, why they've missed the point, and then why our solution solves for that missed point. And that would be just kind of like my overarching recommendation, so that the problems and opportunity setup feels a little less disjointed from the rest of the story. But ultimately, I do think you do a really good job of explaining the product, and I'm probably likely there to understand a little bit more about, how's your traction, what are your plans for growth, without necessarily needing to really kind of hit home on that problem. But at the same time, I think this could just get over the line with a clear kind of setup. Um, any
Cool.
thoughts?
Love it.
Cool.
Thanks,
All
Alex.
right.
All right, let's hit the next one. Mark, who are we looking at?
We're running. All right. We got work AI coming in from Courtney. All right. So defining the future of work with the first career intelligence and relationship management platform. So tested and validated. We've run almost 2,000 interviews. We have over 10,000 customers on the wait list. We got a beta with paying customers and a public launch in a month. Good luck with the upcoming launch. That is super exciting. Uh, Big problem statements. People waste time trying to get hired, and companies lose money searching for hires. Makes sense. We are building a CIRM to connect the dots. This is building connections for US professionals. This is our Trojan horse to expand into a workforce intelligence ecosystem, creating a category defining multi-billion dollar opportunity. What we can't do, we'll integrate to do. A LinkedIn is a worse product and it made a lot of money. And just creating this ecosystem is a huge opportunity. Uh, and we have a great community kind of that we're launching into. So we're raising money to onboard more users. Uh, Courtney, great acumen. Okay, so this is a super interesting one because I actually think you nailed the problem and the hook. And then I just think we have a really weak intro to the product where it kind of loses steam. So this is the messy middle of pitch decks, and it's often parts that people kind of underbake. But here it's like I'm set up to believe that you're creating this new thing called a CIRM. It feels like a paradigm shift. It's set up to be one. You have 10,000 customers waiting for it, and you're about to solve this major problem. And then I like this build that we have these job boards and we have the things companies are doing, but all I see in the middle is like this logo. And this is where I'd want us to go really deep, and I'd want to slide after this. And it's actually why we often call this part of the deck the deep dive. That just explains to me what's going on here. So I get this dashboard, which unfortunately doesn't look too good. And then I'm left with kind of just something that says agentic AI, which I think maybe a year or two ago, this would be okay. Today, I think there's just so much depth going into the way people are pitching and explaining the AIs they're building. This would just fall flat and wouldn't come off as super believable. The plus side is once you get out of this section, this narrative's great. So you have this initial product in hiring that will let you build towards workforce. You want to be one of these next category defining companies. Uh, Here's kind of some math behind it. And then the only thing that I'd also push on is let's spend some more time on this waitlist and community. I think we have this really big vision, which a lot of early stage decks don't try to do. But here, I think we almost lean so hard into the vision that we risk having some BS sneak in. Where instead, I think you could do this, but then actually like lean into the 10,000 users today. How'd you get these people on? What are they saying? Why are they excited for this to launch? So I'd almost say that this is a unique problem where most times we're helping people and we're like, you need more of a vision statement in your deck. You need a VC to believe that this is going to be huge. Here, I'd want to spend a little bit more time just understanding the success you've had to date. You've run so many interviews, you have a really strong initial traction, and you've done a lot of hard work. So I want to know more about that. And I just want to know how the product's going to work. So it's a simple thing to solve. But if this slide and this slide can actually tell me more about the technology, the intended architecture, what you've built versus haven't built already, and why that unlocks this new CIRM, then I think I'd be really excited because you've done such a strong job with the problem. And I really actually do like the back half. I just don't want someone to think that this is BS because there's not enough of a product and attraction story to get them to this future state where you're playing up against LinkedIn, which is obviously a major player. So I think, yeah, it's there's a lot of pieces here. Of course, you can push the design. That's a different conversation. But strictly from the narrative point, I would just focus on building out the the product section more, the tech you have and the traction you have. And I think that would really bridge the gap between a pretty big time vision and a nicely laid out problem. So thoughts here, anyone else? But yeah, this is great. Thanks for submitting, Courtney.
I will just add that I'd love to know why Courtney is the right founder to go after this market. There's a lot of people trying to go after pieces of what you're going after, Courtney, and I'd love to know where is the founder market fit here?
Yeah, I think it could literally be as simple as trying to solve that in this headline. So the future is here. Are you ready for work or work queue? That doesn't really tell me anything. Let's have that statement say, who you are, why you're excited about this. You have awesome logos beneath your name, so that gives me some credibility, but I think ultimately we don't know you, so we need that additional context. And again, at the early stages, the founder market fit is increasingly key to an investment going through. Um, but yeah, really, really nice. Some really nice moments of this pitch.
Yeah, I also really love the customer discovery part.
Yeah.
All right, super cool. Next up, I have faux.me, and it kicks off with that Paris has 45,000 restaurants and you only have 5 nights. You don't have time to waste a meal. I really like this hook. I think it's true. We can talk about some trade-offs with this approach, but I think it definitely puts me in the seat of what you guys are looking to do. And then we have this problem that travelers are placing a greater priority on culinary experiences. It's time to fix this. Um, there's this could probably be a little bit clearer as somebody's looking to skim through, but the problem looks like it's being faced by travel advisors, or there are additional problems that travel advisors encounter at scale, which amounts to research time for dinner recommendations. Dinner access is fragmented. Matching the perfect table, people to the perfect table is uncertain. And Fo.me is defining a new restaurant experience powered by AI. They put every table on one platform, and looks like they create these really unique thumbprints for each restaurant, with some data that I guess map backs to the customer and creates these like perfect matches for restaurant reservations in various cities. This is really interesting. And then they have a go-to-market plan to go after the luxury travel market, which is a huge market, and starting with luxury travel agents. And they kind of have this math here that shows that the sum of some percentage of the travel agents market would amount to 15 million in ARR, based on early revenue. And then the products can be manipulated to evolve to a couple different verticals. They have a big forecast, and it looks like a really strong team. All right, so really interesting concept. I don't believe I've ever seen anything quite like this. I want to jump to the top here where we kick off with this Paris has 45,000 restaurants. You have 5 nights. I'm still not sure if I think this is the most effective way in, because I think immediately it makes sense. I understand what you guys are doing and I'm intrigued, but it also feels a little small. It seems like you're starting in Paris, and I want to kind of understand that this is a global scaled concept. I think that the focus on travel agents being the way in with this really unique AI technology that does, matching based on consumer preferences to restaurants, um, makes sense, but I do want to understand the monetizable demand. We talked about this a little bit earlier. Are travel agents clearly willing to pay for a service that'll make their research and recommendations to their clients that much faster and that much more effective? I would imagine what comes to mind when I think about people traveling and looking for culinary experiences is that they're like looking for the best and maybe aren't looking for, something that's super tailored to them. And so I think proving that out as well as proving out this travel agent segment and the core demands that they have, um, and whether how much they're really feeling this acute problem and willing to pay for it, I think would need to kind of come up earlier in this deck, maybe kind of hitting off. I mean, I guess it is being hit off here that there are these broad problems, but how does this tie to dollars? Maybe it's an extrapolation of how much time is being spent wasted on unproductive recommendations that can equate to some sort of return on investment by saving that amount of time. I think that really, you have if what looks like an incredibly interesting and cool platform that could apply to a lot of different verticals and can expand. But I'm curious to really kind of pick apart the research that you've done on the actual customer who's facing this problem, which is, the travel agents that you're looking to sell into, and how we can prove either with user interviews or other sorts of technology that have penetrated the travel advisory segment that there is monetizable demand for an AI product like yours. So I think that's the hurdle to climb with the logic of this narrative. But by all means, I think this product sounds very unique and compelling, and I could see people being really excited about it. So, any thoughts from the team? That's my quick take.
Just a comment from Lydia that travel agents want new revenue streams, not new costs.
Yeah. Could this turn into something that creates more opportunity for them to, yeah, I mean, maybe it's just repositioned then something that saves them time, but enables them to take on more capacity or offer some sort of tech product alongside their travel advisory practice.
Yep.
That could be another way in. It's like we white label this technology, we enable, the travel agents to customize it in some specific way, and they can now offer a tech product in addition to their service that leads more people to their service. That could be an interesting way to reframe it as a not just a cost saver, especially if you can't drive that cost saver like with math and numbers or research, turn it into a revenue opportunity with the same technology. I think that's a great idea.
I will say from the investor perspective, many investors look at DEX not thinking, how can this work? But why won't this work? Which I know is really depressing as a founder and maybe isn't like the kindest way of moving through the world, but it is generally how I see investors operate, right? Because they're getting so many decks put in front of them and they need to see such a strong ROI in order to account for all the other investments that they're making that aren't really going anywhere, right? So when I saw this deck, I see that there are ways that the platform is attempting to differentiate or planning to differentiate. I love the expansion opportunities. I thought that was really smart. But the voice in my head the whole time was saying, this doesn't feel like something that like Open Table is probably going to add in an AI element relatively soon, as are some of these other platforms. So the competition with the existing solutions, I think, is going to be a really big challenge. And customer acquisition costs, I think, are going to be really high if you go to the consumers and try to get them to use your platform instead of one of the established competitors. So if this is a space that you're really passionate about, then I would potentially take this to restaurants because they're the ones that are really struggling right now. And if they can figure out ways to get people in the door, then that might be an interesting audience to go after in terms of your buyer.
Totally. Or even the platforms themselves that, may be looking to develop something like this. But for the innovator's dilemma, like may not have the tech prowess that your team has, and if that could be integrated into an open table and some way that promotes a better experience, maybe that's another way in, and then maybe they become a good acquire down the road. So I definitely think that there's focusing on the right customer here and making that impenetrable argument that that customer is willing to pay for this product is, I think, the key. So all well said across the board.
All right, let's rumble. Next one.
Okay, also want to flag that it's 1 p.m. Pacific, it's 4 p.m. Eastern. We said this was going to be an hour. So I know we have a lot of decks to get through. Can we do one more and then we'll talk about another iteration of this event?
Yeah, I
Yeah, I
think we
think we
gotta
can do one
do
more.
We got to do one more.
we gotta do Mimmer.
We got to do Mimmer. I'm
And
sorry, Mimmer.
and 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 triage.
Like
Um,
wants to go
You
forever.
want to do triage and I'll do Mimmer and then we'll close out?
We'll do two more
yeah.
and then we'll talk about doing, if you guys put your links in and we haven't got to you, we will get to you, but we're just going to have to do this again. So stay tuned.
Um, okay. Let me do triage really quick. Okay. Triage. Cool. So this is one that I don't actually want to spend too much time on. I think this is pretty classic, super early deck where, the product's still getting built. We have a basic wireframe. We've got just kind of classic stuff like a general TAM. I don't think there's anything too crazy in here, but I just want to talk about the real like the two reasons why this probably wouldn't work if it was cold sent to a VC like Hustle Fund, and then what you'd have to do to make it maybe work. Also, shout out to School of Mines. George Saunders is one of the best short story writers. He went to the School of Mines, and I've known about this school for a while. So super cool that you went there. Okay, so the real problem here is that this is pitching a voice AI product, which is one of the most crowded spaces, and we don't have a founder who has a background in AI directly, or let alone in voice AI. So you're just going up against like literally the most innovative product teams ever with this. And I understand that it's niched down into healthcare, but I don't know if that really helps because what we get to on the competition slide is we're going up against automated scheduling solutions, which I'd imagine are all just kind of, pre-AI healthcare scheduling stuff. But I think what would be more interesting is let's say someone was in healthcare and they wanted to have an AI tool help them with scheduling that listens to calls. Well, one, there's voice AIs out there that I'd imagine could do that. I'd want to know what they are and if they're doing that. I know there's tools like a gum loop that are coming out that let you kind of build an AI workflow like a Zapier, except that uses AI to scrape and I think probably soon listen to information. So I'd imagine people could in-house this type of functionality pretty quickly. And then I also think like the hacky way to accomplish what you're proposing, which is to listen to a patient call and then help with, some of the triaging and manual workflows would be to use something like Fathom or Otter, these AI note takers that we usually have in our calls. And then you could just feed that to an AI to kind of do that work. I think, especially with computer browsing coming to AI soon, like it'd be pretty easy to just record a transcript, feed it to a computer browsing AI, and then they could do relevant scheduling that comes out of the call. So I think the big question mark just looming over this pitch, because I do think it's a noble idea. I think it's always important to improve efficiency as healthcare, is just like, where do you guys fit into the landscape? I get why you beat all of these companies that are probably 20-year-old or 10-year-old health techs, but I have no reason to believe that this would succeed over any other AI player or specifically any voice AI player that's currently entering the space. And part of that comes down to the founding team just not having the background immediately, and two, just there's just such a high bar of what's being pitched in the space currently. So dig the mission. I think it's great. I think there's good stuff in here, but there's just this massive barrier that I would almost reorient the pitch to try to solve for. Really quickly, see if you can, because this is a straight where a VC's head is going to, why is this a horse I need to bet on in voice AI at all? And I don't quite have the answer from the deck. Besides that, solid stuff. nothing terrible, nothing amazing. It has some solid components. But I think until that problem is addressed very intently, the pitch just wouldn't work to cold send to a big time VC.
Well said.
All right, last one.
Last one. All right, I don't know what happened here. We jumped in on the wrong link for a previous one that we thought was from Mimmer. So we're finally getting to the Mimmer deck. AI for ticket and backlog management. There's a problem. The problem is that development backlogs grow endlessly as tasks pile up faster than they can be resolved, slowing progress and derailing timelines. And they have a solution that accelerates the ticket and backlog resolution using fine-tuned AI to keep teams 100x productive. There's some key features. They have a go-to-market strategy that looks like it's pretty general, and then a a market size with a TAM, SAM, and SOM, a business model that looks good, and then a competitive landscape. It's the only enterprise-ready AI solution that combines deep code base understanding and collaboration tools to resolve tickets and streamline backlogs and boost productivity. And then it's a team that has already built, we've already built the solution that currently does this. Um, and then they are raising some capital. All right. So right off the bat, I think again, it kind of comes back to this concept of being really clear about who the customer is and how these problems show some need for a paid solution. So I think and I see the second part here, and I'm a little bit confused on the first part. When we talk about development backlogs and tasks piling up, I think this could go in a few different directions. My mind immediately goes to like customer tickets, and I think, I know that there's technology like Jira out there that's, kind of these non-AI native tools that help support customer tickets. But are they not implementing AI now that many companies are implementing AI? Why wouldn't they be implementing it if they, in theory, have a large enterprise, a lot of customers, and likely a pretty powerful team? And then that's this problem that I'd want to kind of pick apart and solve for in the positioning of this deck, because it does again seem like one of these very broad problems. This has been around for a while. There are, everyone has customer experience problems that they know firsthand, and maybe that's due to the fact that there's just such a pileup in whatever software they're using to manage those tickets. And an AI solution that's fine-tuned, maybe it's not clear here, but maybe fine-tuned specifically to the client or the customer, would be able to solve and improve efficiencies much faster. But I just, in my mind of knowing that there's these big tech platforms that handle tickets. There are a lot of platforms out there that are using AI chat to engage with customers directly. Where do we fit into that framework, and why can't someone else solve for it? And it's not to say that somebody else will, it's just to say that we need to understand what specific white space you're kind of penetrating here with this product, so that we can better understand how there is enough room for you to become a 100x opportunity for an investor and not be kind of disrupted by an existing incumbent or a startup that's raised a lot of capital that can pivot into tickets. So I think we really want to understand again where you zig, where others zag, and then like literally kind of highlight this as like a wedge specifically with this type of customer. Maybe it's small to medium-sized businesses that can't afford, the Jira AI suite that they may or may not be building, but I'm not sure if they are. Maybe it's, a specific type of customer that's receiving a specific type of ticket. But just getting a little bit more specific with this problem solution upfront would be really helpful. And then I do think that the rest of the deck is relatively general. Like it's not, when we talk about a go-to-market strategy, it's not something that feels really unique to you. The market size, I'm not sure. Like I see some big numbers here, but I have to kind of like get to the point myself. I think the business model these are some prices. Why did we choose this pricing? How does this pricing scale effectively? And then how do we bring more of this competitive landscape into how we situate the problem so that we can understand the white space based on, other competitors and people that are looking to build something like this in the market. So that's the challenge that I think would be most effective to kind of making this deck a little bit more uh, investable from a logical perspective. And I think it's something that you can overcome with some good thinking and some kind of storytelling work. But yeah, that's what I'm craving to kind of get the real point here. Any thoughts from the team? Otherwise, I think we're good.
Yes, I do. I do have a thought, which is, and you kind of touched on this a little bit, Alex, but I want to really hammer home. This is like, what's your customer acquisition strategy? Is there a wedge into like a particular type of company that has a certain type of ticket that you're going to build for initially and then expand either horizontally or vertically? And then what's your customer discovery so far? What insights do you have? I said this earlier in the session, but I'll say it again because I think every single deck could benefit from this. What is your unique insight or insights that led you to this particular solution? Investors want to see that you've done your homework, that this isn't just a good idea that you have and maybe like your best friends who are engineers would like this, but that you've talked to a variety of customers and you really have dialed in your ideal customer profile. I'm not seeing this on here, and maybe I'm missing it, but if I have to
Yeah.
dig that hard, then it's other investors are not going to dig any harder, right? So just keep that in mind.
Exactly. I think that's really well said. I think at the end of the day, every startup starts pretty much from zero. Nobody expects every startup to have amazing traction right from the jump, but there's a lot that you can do to enhance credibility and signal traction with doing your homework, explaining customer research, customer conversations, um, basically putting that into your deck as a proxy for traction so that you can generate the credibility that, yes, this is a really informed take on a specific space. We, are investing our time and our money into this product because we know for a fact that it's being felt, that the problem's being felt by customers, and we have some data to back it up. I think that there's a little bit more homework to show as a proxy for traction that not everybody has right from the jump. So I think that was well said.
Sweet.
All right.
Kara, want to wrap us up? Maybe we
This
can
was,
talk about what's next because we want to keep going. We would go forever.
I know. Actually, Mark suggested that in the planning sessions. He was like, "Should we do this for 6 hours?" And
I wanted
honestly,
this never to end. I'm prepared. If you can give me the Zoom, I'll just keep going.
you guys, thank you all so much for coming and for hanging out longer than we expected, for going with the flow. This was definitely an experiment, and we'd love your feedback if this was worth your time, if you want us to keep doing this, and how we can make it better. Mark, Alex, your insights and feedback were actionable and specific and wonderful. So thank you for giving everyone your time today and sharing your brilliance with us. This was super, super fun.
Yeah, it was really
More
fun.
soon.
It's yeah, there'll be more soon for sure. I think it's challenging to zoom out from the day-to-day of building your company and tell a story that's gonna really resonate with somebody who has literally no familiarity with what you are doing. So I think it is hopefully helpful to get like a totally fresh take from people that look at pitch decks all day on what like sticks with us and what things we might do if we were in control of the narrative. So if it's useful, let us know, and we'll be back with some more.
Yeah. So keep an eye on your inbox. We will be in touch with the date of the next one of these and some way for you to give us some feedback on what we can do to make this more valuable for you and just a smoother experience overall. So please do give us that feedback. We read everything and we definitely appreciate it. Okay, I think that's it.
Thanks for all the submissions. Thanks for
Thanks,
everyone's time.
guys.
Talk soon.
All
Bye.
right.